The drink in my hand was sweating like hell, but I didn't even realize it until the condensation started dripping onto my shirt. I'd only stepped outside to get some air, maybe sneak a smoke. The patio was mostly empty, string lights overhead, soft music from the inside muted behind the glass. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop. I was just in the wrong place at the right damn time. I need him out before inventory season, Tanya said, low clipped. I froze. Her voice. My wife's voice. She was standing by the edge of the railing, wine glass in hand, talking to Brent, her district manager. That smug, khaki pants bastard. He had one of those lazy, permanent grins. The kind of guy who wears cologne to a tailgate. He can't find out about the books, she whispered. I stopped breathing. Literally. My heart hitched so hard I thought maybe it'd give out right there on the concrete. Brent laughed. Relax. It'll go smoothly. Tanya shifted her weight, tucked a piece of hair behind her ear like she was nervous. I hadn't seen her do that in years. He trusts you, Brent said. Let's use that. That's when I backed up, slow. I kept my body low, like I was in a war movie or something. Not sure why. I guess I didn't want them to know I'd heard. I walked backward until I hit the sliding door, then eased it open with my elbow and slipped inside like nothing happened. The party was still going. Lots of suits, polished shoes, people pretending to care about quarterly numbers over mini crab cakes. Tanya's boss, Karina, waved at me. I smiled like my whole world wasn't falling apart. Inside, it felt hot all of a sudden. Stuffy, like the room was closing in. I found a spot near the open bar, tossed back the rest of my drink, and grabbed another. The bartender tried to make small talk. I nodded like I was listening. My ears were ringing. I just kept hearing her say it, over and over. He can't find out about the books. What the hell did that mean? Quick note, before listening, share which city or country you're watching from. She'd been managing the finances for the shop for over a year now. Said she wanted to help take things off my plate. I trusted her. We built that place from nothing. And now she was planning something. With him. I didn't confront her. Not then. I wasn't even sure what I'd heard, not exactly. But I knew one thing for damn sure. I needed to find out what was in those books. So I fixed my face, stepped back into the circle, and smiled at her like I always did. She smiled back. That's what gutted me the most. Because there was a time when that smile meant something real. 7 years ago, I met Tanya at the Wichita Classic Auto Show. It was July. Hot as hell, sweat dripping down my back, and I was elbow deep in polishing compound trying to bring a '71 Chevelle hood back to life. She walked right up to the booth, no hesitation, and said, "You're doing it wrong." I looked up, half ready to tell her to keep walking, but she was grinning, all teeth and confidence. Said her dad taught her to buff chrome when she was 12. I handed her the rag, and damn if she didn't prove it. We talked the rest of the afternoon. She was sharp, funny, knew more about carburetors than most of the guys I knew. Said she worked in property management, but wanted to get into the auto scene, flipping, restoring, maybe even starting a shop someday. That stuck with me. 3 months later, we were inseparable. A year in, we pooled what we had and started scouting garages. We finally landed a spot. 3 bays, old signage, cracked pavement, but the bones were solid. I called it Iron Hill Customs after the neighborhood I grew up in. She loved it. That first year, we worked side by side, 16-hour days, busted knuckles, junkyard runs, late-night burgers on the shop floor. We rebuilt a '67 Camaro in our first winter, one piece at a time. That car was our baby. Black with white racing stripes. We planned to keep it, but a collector from Tulsa made an offer we couldn't say no to. That sale paid for the hydraulic lift and our first office computer. Everything felt like it was building towards something big. Tanya was the one who pushed for structure. She said we needed real systems, not just scribbles on receipts and duct-taped binders. I fought her at first. I liked the old-school feel. She wore me down. "Let me handle the books," she said one night, while we were eating cold pizza on the hood of a Mustang GT. "You keep turning wrenches and charming the customers. That's your zone." It made sense. She had a head for numbers. I trusted her. Back then, there was no reason not to. That's how it started. She shifted into the back office role, scheduling, invoicing, ordering parts. I stayed on the floor, working the builds, talking to vendors, training the kids we brought on as interns. It worked. Business grew. We hired 2 techs. She upgraded us to a full digital bookkeeping system, QuickBooks, cloud backups, the whole deal. It felt like a partnership. But looking back now, I can see it. The little moves. The slow drift. I stopped looking at the books because I didn't need to. She was already on top of it. She handled payroll, then taxes, then the vendor accounts. Every time I asked, she gave me the highlights. Everything's good. We're growing. That's all I wanted to hear. It didn't happen overnight, but by the end of year 2, she was in charge of every dollar that came in or out. She'd even separated our personal accounts, said it was cleaner that way, less crossover. I didn't question it. Why would I? We were married. We had the same dream. I thought. That word started popping up more and more. I thought we were good. I thought she was just busy. I thought I'd know if something was wrong. It started with the late nights. At first, it was once or twice a week. Tanya would text around 6, say she was stuck at the rental office, paperwork piling up, Brent writing her about some regional quota. I didn't love it, but I wasn't suspicious. She had a demanding job. I knew that. But then it was every night. She'd come home after 9, sometimes after 10, still in full makeup, talking a mile a minute like she was trying to fill silence before it could settle. Brent says I could run my own region soon. She said one Tuesday while tossing her heels in the corner and grabbing a beer. I looked up from my laptop. You want that? She shrugged. Maybe. He wants me on the Houston pilot project. It's a big deal. That name, Brent, started showing up more and more. Brent needs me in early. Brent thinks I should sit in on the projections call. Brent this, Brent that. I didn't like it, but I didn't say anything either. Stupid. One night, my buddy Nate stopped by the shop to borrow a jack. We were shooting the shit, and he asked, "Everything cool with you and Tanya?" I laughed it off. Yeah. Why? He just gave me a look. I don't know, man. She seems different lately. I told him she was just working a lot, but his face stuck with me for days. Around that time, she came to me with another one of her streamline ideas. We should restructure the business accounts, she said while stirring her coffee. Separate operating from payroll, move our savings under the shop's umbrella. It'll make taxes easier. Cleaner deductions. I hesitated. Isn't that overcomplicating things? She shook her head. It's how real companies do it. Trust me, I've looked into it. And because I did trust her, I said fine. She started handling all the transfers, all the billing, all the tax paperwork. I was still co-owner, still listed on the docs, but I wasn't touching the money anymore. She even made a new email for vendor correspondence and told them to contact her directly for quicker turnaround. Back then, it felt like she was just stepping up, like she wanted us to be more professional. Now I see every single change for what it really was, a chess move, a setup. She made herself the gatekeeper. Every small change chipped away at my access until I was basically just the face of the business and the guy in the garage. If I wanted to check the books, I had to ask her. And half the time, she'd say, "I'll pull a report later," and never would. I didn't fight it. I didn't want to be that guy, the suspicious husband, the control freak. I told myself I was being mature, that relationships were about trust. But looking back, all I did was give her the keys and look the other way. And she knew it. After the party, we drove home in silence. Tanya hummed along to the radio like nothing was off. I kept my face neutral, hands steady on the wheel, heart punching my ribs. She poured herself a glass of wine the second we got in. I said I was beat and headed to bed. She didn't follow. I lay there with my eyes closed, fully clothed, waiting. I heard the clink of her glass, then the soft click of the hall light. She brushed her teeth, rinsed, shut the door gently behind her. Eventually, her breathing evened out. I gave it 10 more minutes. Then I got up. She always kept her work laptop in the hallway closet, bottom shelf, black case. Said she didn't like mixing business and home life. That was a joke now. I grabbed it, eased back into the kitchen, and opened the screen. She didn't log out. Outlook was still open. The subject lines were all I needed to see to know this wasn't just a dumb misunderstanding. Transition plan. March window. Inventory suppression strategy. Her name was on every thread. So was Brent's. I clicked one, an email titled Confidential, Timeline, Draft Only. It was sent 3 weeks ago. The body laid it out, bullet by bullet. Eli leaves for the summit March 17th to 21st. Confirmed. File dissolution with state on March 18th. Kim H. will courier documents. Transfer property deed through holding LLC prior, attached doc. Clear debt balance using vendor float. Avoid triggering alerts. Change admin access to Brent, temp, then route to new entity post-approval. I stared at the screen so long my vision blurred. I reread that first line 4 times. Eli leaves for the summit. Confirmed. They were planning to gut the business while I was out of state. I opened the attachment, an Excel sheet with tabs labeled Asset Realign, LLC Hold, and Bank Path. Her initials were all over the edit history. Brent had commented under the real estate transfer doc, "Make sure lawyer runs this by Kim H. before moving the property. Don't want red flags." Kim H. again. I didn't know who the hell she was, but clearly they trusted her to clean up their mess. I clicked into Tanya's sent folder. There was a draft email, unsent but saved. It was addressed to some guy at the Secretary of State's office, ready to file for business closure. The message mentioned marital discord, internal restructuring, and a line that made my stomach twist. Co-owner will be unreachable during the filing window. Please contact me directly with any objections or delays. Unreachable. Like I was some idiot just flying off to shake hands and take notes while she torched everything I'd built. I felt like I couldn't breathe. My hands were cold, even though I was sweating through my shirt. They weren't just trying to screw me, they were planning to erase me. Quietly. Legally. Like I never existed in the business at all. I clicked over to the banking tab in the spreadsheet. It listed 3 accounts I didn't recognize. 2 were under the shop's name. The third was titled IHC Holdings LLC. That one had Tanya's name and Brent's initials next to it. She used our shop's initials for the shell company. Iron Hill Customs. IHC. I felt sick. I powered the laptop down and put it back exactly where I found it. When I got back to bed, she was still asleep, one arm flung over the pillow, mouth slightly open. Peaceful. I stared at the ceiling all night, wired, trying not to lose it. I needed a plan. I needed proof. And most of all, I needed to stop playing the dumb husband act. Because whatever they were doing, whatever Brent and Tanya were scheming, it was already in motion. So I went to work. The next morning, before she got up, I downloaded a keylogger onto her work laptop. Took maybe 8 minutes total. I'd watched enough YouTube tutorials and Reddit threads the night before to know exactly what I needed. I also set up balance alerts on the business accounts. Low thresholds. If even $100 moved, I'd get pinged. Then I moved money from our personal savings, quietly, in chunks, into an account only I had access to. Just in case. That whole week, I pretended everything was fine. I brought her coffee in the mornings. Kissed her goodbye. Talked about dinner plans. Let her think I was still in the dark. Meanwhile, I was watching every keystroke, every login, every document. That Thursday, she said she had a working lunch with a regional rep. She didn't bother saying who. I followed her. She drove 30 minutes north, pulled into a Holiday Inn off I-70. Nothing fancy, just one of those chain places with the sad fake plants in the lobby and conference rooms nobody books. I parked 2 rows back, stayed low, watched Brent walk out from the side entrance, and open her door like they were on their honeymoon. She smiled, touched his chest, and they walked in together. I took pictures. Time-stamped. I didn't even feel anger at that point, just cold. Focused. That night, while we were eating stir-fry on the couch, she said, "We might qualify for a shop expansion loan. I talked to a lender today." Brent's guy? I looked at her like I didn't already know everything. Really? What kind of loan? Low interest. No collateral. She smiled like she was doing me a favor. I'm still checking the details. It'd help us upgrade the paint booth. Maybe add another bay. Nice, I said, chewing slow. When would that happen? She shrugged. Soon. Could be this quarter. I asked more questions. Kept my tone light. Got her to say everything I needed on record. Her own words, her lies. That night, after she passed out watching some Netflix show, I checked the keylogger logs. She'd emailed Kim H. again. Subject, exit plan, final draft. The message was short. Confirming, Eli departs March 17th. All filings will be executed March 18th. Brent will have temporary authority to sign off under transition clause. LLC will absorb assets. Property title retitled March 16th under IHC Holdings, as discussed. Attached was a checklist. Step-by-step instructions, down to timestamps. Line 32 read. He'll be tied up in meetings. No interruptions expected. Like I was a scheduling inconvenience. Kim had replied, too. All set. Docs with courier. Need final signature Friday. I clicked open a folder Tanya had labeled Expansion Docs. Inside were spreadsheets, fake vendor forms, even a mock-up of a press release about Iron Hill's growth into new markets. All bullshit. Everything they'd told me, every story, every excuse, was designed to keep me calm while they gutted me from the inside. She wasn't just stealing. She was replacing me. And she was good at it. But not good enough. Because I wasn't the same guy she'd been fooling all year. I had eyes on everything now. And I wasn't playing dumb anymore. Next morning, I called a lawyer. Found him through a guy I knew from the local business network. Said he was sharp, noble, handled messy partnership disputes. I didn't ask questions. I just showed up at his office with a flash drive, a folder full of printed emails, and a stomach full of hate. His name was Glenn Worthy. Late 40s, short sleeves, no tie. His handshake was firm, and his eyes were the kind that scanned everything in the room before he sat down. "You said this was urgent," he said. I handed him the folder. He started flipping through it. Emails, texts, screenshots of Tanya and Brent at the hotel, spreadsheet printouts, legal docs I'd pulled off her laptop. After 10 minutes, he looked up. "Well, you've got a hell of a mess on your hands." "No kidding," I said. He leaned back. "You did the right thing not confronting her yet. You show your hand now. She'll cover hers." "So what do we do?" "We move first," he said. Quietly. Legally. Completely. He laid out the plan like he'd done it 100 times. First, we'd collect and secure every business document with my name on it. Articles of incorporation, original asset lists, bank statements, vendor contracts. Anything that proved my ownership stake and day-to-day involvement. Then, we'd prep an emergency filing with the state to freeze all business assets under an active dispute claim. That included the shop property, accounts, trademarks, everything tied to Iron Hill Customs. We'd send a formal notification to the state licensing board, stating that fraudulent activity was suspected by a managing partner. That would delay any filings Tanya tried to push through while I was supposedly at the summit. Then came the civil fraud claim. Heavy paperwork, but Glenn said it'd be solid with what I had. If Tanya filed anything during that time, it'd trip legal alerts and freeze automatically. "What about the LLC?" I asked. "She's moving stuff into this fake company. We'll include it in the filings. Once we name her and the LLC in the fraud claim, any transfers will be legally disputed." "And Brent?" "We serve him too," Glenn said. "If he's involved in the planning, he's part of the fraud. His company's going to love that." I nodded. My hands were clenched, but I didn't even notice until I saw the nail marks in my palm. Glenn leaned forward. "Now listen to me carefully, Eli. The key here is timing. You let her think everything's normal. Let her think you're off to Mississippi just like she planned. While she's sitting in her office filing those papers, we'll already be 2 steps ahead." He tapped the folder. "As co-owner, you have leverage if you move first. You just need to make it airtight." I met his eyes. "Then let's make it airtight." We spent the next 2 days getting everything together. I pulled vendor contracts from the shop, copied our operating agreements, downloaded full transaction logs from the bank portals. Glenn had a paralegal organize everything, draft affidavits, timestamp each exhibit. I forwarded him the keylogger logs. He printed those, too. I signed 10 different forms that afternoon. Every signature made my gut twist tighter, but I kept going. I didn't have a choice. By the 3rd day, we had the asset freeze paperwork ready, the fraud complaint drafted, and a courier lined up. The plan was simple. Tanya would say goodbye at the airport curb. I'd act tired, distracted, kiss her on the cheek, then fly to Mississippi. In reality, I'd drive across town and walk straight into Glenn's office. By the time she submitted her betrayal, ours would already be in the system. The morning of the summit, I woke up before the alarm. Tanya was already dressed, hair curled, blouse pressed, makeup flawless. She looked calm, like someone about to get everything she wanted. "You nervous?" she asked as she handed me a travel mug of coffee. I forced a grin. "Nah, just don't want to fall asleep in some vendor's PowerPoint." She laughed. Then she reached up, gave me a long hug. "I'll miss you," she said. "Call me when you land." "I will." We loaded my suitcase into the truck, empty except for a jacket and some notebooks, and I drove off like I was headed to the airport. Instead, I pulled onto I-135, took the south exit, and headed straight for Glenn's office. It was 8:15 when I walked in. By 9:40, everything was ready. Glenn's team had been waiting. 4 staff members buzzing like clockwork. They printed final forms, timestamped the entire packet, uploaded filings to the Secretary of State, and sent the fraud complaint to the licensing board. The asset freeze order had priority status thanks to the full co-owner documentation we'd compiled. At exactly 10 a.m., the courier walked out the door with the dissolution reversal documents in a sealed envelope marked for Tanya Morgan at Westcorp Rentals. Same time, a process server walked into Brent's office at their corporate headquarters, handed him a bright yellow envelope, and said, "You've been named in a civil fraud action. Sign here." By 10:30, it was done. I was sitting in Glenn's office, staring at my phone, waiting. Didn't take long. 10:41 a.m. Incoming call. Tanya, mobile. I hit record and answered. "Where are you?" she snapped. "Why? What the hell did you do?" Her voice was already cracking. "I know everything, Tanya," I said, calm as a priest at a funeral. "The LLCs, the hidden accounts, the lawyer, the timeline. I know about the property transfer. I know what you and Brent planned while I was supposed to be gone." Dead silence. Then, explosion. "You don't understand anything. You're blowing this up for no reason." I did not. This wasn't. She stuttered, flipped back into rage. "You were never supposed to see those files. You went through my stuff? You were stealing my life out from under me." I said. "I had every right." "You are overreacting," she snapped. "You think you're some kind of victim? You didn't even care about the books. I kept us afloat while you played grease monkey." I let her dig. Then I hit her with it. "You used our initials for the fake company, Tanya. IHC Holdings. You thought I wouldn't figure that out?" Silence. Then quieter. "Brent said it would protect us if the business went under." "No," I cut in. "Don't put this on him. You're the one who built the plan. You're the one who filed fake loan docs. You wrote the emails. You typed the timeline. You were never supposed to get hurt," she said. "I was gonna. Lie to me. Keep lying. That's the only thing you were gonna do." She started crying, then screaming, then crying again. I stayed quiet. Let the tape roll. By 11:30, Tanya lost all administrative access to the business systems. Glenn's paralegal handled it while we sat there, watching the logins go dead in real time. The bank flagged the shop accounts. Every dollar was now frozen pending court hearing. I sat back in the leather chair and exhaled for the first time in days. That was the moment I knew the takedown worked. She tried to gut me like I didn't matter, like I was some fool with a wrench while she built her empire in the shadows. But she forgot who helped build it in the first place. She forgot it was my name on the papers right next to hers. And she sure as hell forgot. I don't go down without swinging. That was a Monday. By Thursday, Brent was out. Fired. Not even quietly. HR escorted him out of the Westcorp building before lunch. Word spread fast. Guy got caught screwing a married coworker and planning a shell company fraud on her husband. I heard he tried to spin it like he was being set up. Didn't matter. His keycard stopped working before his excuses ran out. Tanya went on voluntary, unpaid leave. I'm guessing that wasn't her idea either. Glenn got the first call from her lawyer that Friday. Some junior associate probably sent to test the waters. Their offer was pathetic. Tanya was willing to part ways amicably. Translation: keep her cut of the business, stay quiet, and maybe return a small portion of the money she moved. Glenn read the email out loud in his office. Then he actually laughed. Not a chuckle, a laugh. "She thinks this is still a negotiation," he said, shaking his head. "Let's remind her it's not. Our counteroffer was simple. Return every dollar she siphoned into IHC Holdings. Fully dissolve the LLC. Sign over her half of Iron Hill Customs." She refused. Said I was trying to ruin her future. Said I was vindictive. Glenn didn't even blink. Let her stew. 2 days later, Westcorp's general counsel sent her lawyer a notice of potential corporate litigation. Turns out Brent's scheme with her violated multiple internal policies, and the company wasn't looking to be named in any court filings. That did it. Her lawyer called back the next morning and asked, "Would your client still be open to a revised agreement?" Glenn didn't even look at me. Just said, "Send it over." She caved. Every term. Signed. I got it all back. The business. The accounts. The property. Even the vendor contracts. But not without scars. A week later, Tanya's parents showed up at my shop. I hadn't seen them in months. Her dad looked like someone had taken a bat to his chest, just sunken. Her mom handed me a tin of homemade cookies and said, "I don't expect you to forgive her. We just wanted you to know We had no idea. None. I believed them. They'd always treated me like family. Real family. And I could tell this wrecked them. I didn't invite them in. Just nodded, said thank you, and closed the door. The next day, I went back to the shop for the first time since everything went down. It was quiet. No Tanya in the office. No clipped heels on the tile. Just the hum of the overhead lights and the smell of oil and steel. I walked past the lift, past the Camaro poster she'd bought during our first year, and into the break room. Sat at the table, put my hands flat on the surface. It didn't feel like home anymore. It felt like walking into a tomb. She'd infected every corner of it. Not just with her name or her lies, but with all the moments we used to share there, laughing over invoices, arguing about paint jobs, making plans we never had any intention of keeping. I thought I'd feel proud, like I'd won something. But all I felt was empty. So before I signed the final settlement, I asked for one last meeting with her. Face to face. No lawyers talking through emails. No red lines or revisions. Just us. Glenn didn't love the idea. Said there was no reason to give her more time. But he agreed to it, under one condition. It happened in his office, on neutral ground, and I didn't sign anything until after she left. I said that was fine. Tanya showed up 10 minutes late. She looked nothing like the woman who used to strut into that shop in heels and lipstick, bossing techs around like a floor manager on deadline. She walked in like her shoes were made of lead. No makeup, hair tied back, black sweater, loose jeans. Her face was pale, eyes sunken, like she hadn't slept in weeks. She didn't say anything at first, just sat down across from me and folded her hands in her lap. I waited. Finally, she looked up. I'm sorry. I didn't respond. She swallowed hard. I didn't mean for it to go this far. Brent said. He told me we could just split things quietly. Clean. Fair. I nodded slowly. Clean break, huh? She looked down. Yeah. I leaned forward. You didn't want a clean break. You wanted control. She flinched. That's not. You planned this for months. You had timelines. Fake paperwork. Shell accounts. You were going to erase me while I was out of state. I didn't know how else to do it, she said. I didn't want to fight you. No, you just wanted to steal from me while I was gone so you wouldn't have to fight. Her voice cracked. Brent said it was safer. If you found out, he said you'd make it messy. Brent, I said, shaking my head. You built the entire plan. You sent the emails. You typed the documents. You pushed the button. Brent didn't take your laptop and forge your signature. She wiped her face with her sleeve. He bailed, by the way. As soon as this got legal, he ghosted me. Of course he did. She nodded slowly, like she finally realized what he'd really been the whole time. I sat back. Was there ever a plan where you told me the truth? She looked right at me. No, she said. It didn't come out angry. Just flat. Honest. I nodded again. There was nothing left to say after that. I pulled the folder from my bag, flipped to the signature page, and looked over at Glenn. He nodded once. I signed. Tanya stood up. She hesitated for half a second, like maybe she wanted to hug me or say something else. But she didn't. She just walked out. I stayed sitting there for a while, staring at the black ink on that paper like it was some kind of tombstone. It was over. No more shared ownership. No more shop meetings. No more pretending. Just two signatures, a closed file, and years of my life turned into a cautionary tale. Glenn came back in, picked up the folder, and said, "You did the right thing, man." I nodded, but it didn't feel like winning. It felt like bleeding out and calling it healing. A few months later, I sold the shop. Two mechanics I trusted, Nate and his cousin Jordan, took it over. Good guys. Young, honest, hungry. I gave them a fair price and walked away with just enough to start fresh. I moved out of Wichita, settled in a smaller town about 2 hours west. Quiet place, no one knew my name, and I liked it that way. Partnered up with a guy named Lou to open a used car lot. Nothing fancy. Mostly trucks, beat-up sedans, the occasional bike. I adopted a rescue dog, black mutt with one ear that stands up and the other that won't. Named her Mags. She follows me around the lot like she owns the place. Weekends, I work on old motorcycles in the garage out back. Not for money, just because it keeps my hands moving and my head clear. I've rebuilt two so far, a '78 Honda and an old Yamaha with a busted carb I got running again last month. Sometimes I hear things. Tanya moved out of state. Don't know where, don't care. Word is Brent landed a job at some competitor's branch office in Tulsa. He's probably selling the same bullshit under a new name. They deserve each other. Yesterday, I was out behind the lot, cleaning up after a tire delivery, when this woman pulls up in a silver Civic, plates from the next county over. She popped the trunk and waved me over. Got a donation box, she said. Library fundraiser. You mind holding it inside till pickup? I took the box, nodded. She looked around the place. You sell bikes too? Sometimes, I said. If I can get him running. She laughed. Good answer. I'm Carrie, by the way. Eli. She smiled, pushed her sunglasses up on her head. You're not from around here, are you? Nope. Didn't think so. She looked at Mags, who was already sniffing her sneakers. Your dog likes me, though. Yeah, I said. She's got decent taste. Carrie laughed at that. One of those real, easy laughs that catches you off guard. We talked for a minute. Nothing deep. Just normal. Comfortable. After she left, I stood there a while, hand on Mag's head, just breathing. Not waiting for the other shoe to drop. Not checking over my shoulder. Just breathing. And for the first time in a long damn time, it felt like that was enough.